flight, we are go for launch. T minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. This is Navigating AI, hosted by Rich Wilson, guiding business leaders through the new intelligence era. Let's explore how AI is reshaping business, leadership, and the world.
Hi, I'm Rich Wilson. Welcome to Navigating AI, where we guide business and HR leaders through the new intelligence era. Today's episode is titled A Science Girl in an HR World. And today's conversation is with Shayla Thomas, and we will discuss carbon capture, culture, and AI in HR. She is the Human Resources Manager at CarbonFree, a San Antonio-based clean technology company working to convert industrial carbon emissions into useful minerals and products. CarbonFree is one of those companies doing work that can sound almost impossible until you see it in person. Their technology captures carbon from industrial processes and turns it into materials like sodium bicarbonate and precipitated calcium carbonate, creating a different path for companies trying to reduce their carbon impact. But today's conversation is not just about carbon capture. It is about people. Shayla's path into HR was anything but traditional. She came to Texas for medical school, built a background in biology, became a medical scribe, moved into team leadership, and then found herself drawn into the people side of the business. Since joining CarbonFree in 2022, she has grown from HR administrator to HR manager, helping build the people infrastructure for a company that is scaling from a smaller, highly technical team into its next stage of growth. She describes herself as a science girl in an HR world, and that phrase says a lot. Shayla brings curiosity, a need to understand the why, and the practical, analytical mindset to HR. She has spent time on the plant floor building trust, listening to employees, and working to make HR feel like less the principal's office and more like a true partner to the business. In this conversation, we will talk about how her science background shapes her HR leadership, what it takes to build trust in a technical and fast-moving company, how CarbonFree is scaling its people function, and how Shayla is using tools like ChatGPT and Claude while thinking carefully about where AI belongs and where human judgment still has to lead. Shayla, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, Rich. Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here. I'm excited for the conversation. I think it'll be fun.
Us too. So, Shayla, I want to start with the phrase you use to describe yourself because it's memorable and it really frames your story. You describe yourself as a science girl in an HR world. You came to Texas for medical school, built a background in biology, and now you are leading HR at at a carbon capture company. Walk us through that path. What stands out to me is what you did not really leave science behind. You seem to have carried that mindset into HR. So here's my first question for you.
Yeah.
You have said your science mindset makes you want to understand the why behind
Mhm.
both chemical process and people processes. How does that show up in the way you lead HR day to day?
Sure. Yeah. So traditionally, I feel that HR is really seen as kind of like you said in your intro, right? Like a principal's office. And I feel that with that comes kind of people not really thinking about the motivation of why someone may do something that they did or why, they said a particular thing. And so to me, kind of bringing my science background into it and getting to the root of an action or of what someone said, it really matters because it changes the context in which you approach the conversation with that employee or how you approach a situation. And so I think it brings a more human element. I think people tend to think the worst in motivations instead of maybe just thinking maybe that person just had a bad day, or maybe, something else is going on and that's being brought into work, right? And so really getting down to that why, or the root of why someone may have taken a certain action or said a certain thing, is really important, and can really help steer a meaningful conversation and a meaningful and tangible change.
When you went from medical scribe to chief scribe and then into HR, at what point did you realize that working with people might be just as interesting to you as working with science?
Um, so it really kind of sparked. It was a very small spark when I became a chief scribe, because in that role, I was managing a team of 20 scribes. And with those 20 scribes also came a team of 20 doctors that I was technically like managing as well, because I had to manage their expectations, manage up to them, make sure that my scribes were providing them what they needed. And it was really intricate, and it was really having to understand the nuances of each of the providers to make sure that I assigned the correct scribes to them, and make sure that the temperaments and the personalities matched enough that we wouldn't have any complaints from the doctors. And so that was kind of really my spark, like, hey, this is kind of a puzzle too, right? And that's kind of been like putting puzzle pieces together has always been one of my favorite things. I think it's like the most fun part of science. And so that was really kind of like the spark of like, oh, okay, this is interesting. And so then when the opportunity arose for me to move into the HR, I was just like, okay, so I get to take kind of this like puzzle piece mentality and figuring people out and do it for the company writ large, right? And not just my team of scribes and my fellow colleagues who were like chief scribes. And so yeah, that was really kind of it. And then it blossomed from there. I When I got laid off from that job, unfortunately, I started with Carbon Free maybe like a month or 2 after,
Mhm.
and that's really when that spark turned into just, like, the flame that it's been, because it's a smaller company, very few employees, and so I really got to like dig my hands into things that I didn't even really get to do at my previous company. I got more experience. I got to solve more puzzles. I got to interact with more people, have my fingers in more pies. And so that's really kind of when it blossomed. And I think that's pretty evident too, kind of in my trajectory, even starting with Carbon Free, that it's just really been such a fun ride because I've been learning so much and just understanding so much. It's really cool.
Let's dig into this a little more. So, when
Yeah.
you first started at Carbon Free, you were almost never in your office. You were out
Yeah.
on the plant floor, getting to know the people, understanding the operation. What were you trying to accomplish?
Really, I wanted people to know who I was. I wanted them to be able to put a face to the name, and I also wanted them to be able to put a personality to the name as well, and a personality to the function. Because again, hearing HR is like so scary. I never wanted anyone to see me coming, and be like, "Uh-oh, HR is here," because they never saw me around before. I really wanted it to establish relationships. I really wanted to build that trust and rapport, not just with the managers, but with our operators, with our lab techs. I really wanted them to know that I'm not just the person that you come to your problems, but just a person who can just like hang out and chat with you too and just shoot the breeze for a little bit. Because sometimes even you just need that. You're just grinding all day, and it's just like it's nice to just like sit and chat for a second with someone. And so what I found, is that when I did that, I was really, really able to establish such a deep relationship with the operations team that even to this day, even now that I have an HR administrator of my own who's over at the Red Barn at the plant now, they still will come to me, or they'll still make a point of coming by like to my office and sitting down and chatting with me for a bit and catching me up on their lives, catching me up on work. And I find that when it comes to having to have tougher conversations with them, those are easier because that established relationship is there, that trust is there, and they know that I have their best interest because I care about not just when they're doing something that may need to be corrected, but I also just care about the good stuff that they're doing too, personal or professional.
One of the stories that you shared with me from our previous conversation was about an engineer who usually takes a long time to warm up to people.
Yeah.
You connected with him early because you were genuinely interested in the work. That's the science
Yes.
girl in you.
Yes.
What did that teach you about what employees actually want from HR?
Um, I think it taught me that what people want from HR is just someone who will listen,
Mm.
not necessarily always someone who's coming in and dictating what to do or coming in and, restructuring something or, really just I don't know, like micromanaging the employees and kind of like what they do. I found that as long as you're genuine, and as long as they feel that you care about what they say and they feel heard, that you really have like a lot more, you get a lot more leeway in terms of, like I said again, like before having those tough conversations or having to approach them about something that may be uncomfortable. Yeah, it just taught me that people just like to be heard, and that's really important. And then in turn, I will be heard if I need to be by them. So yeah, it goes both ways.
Let's talk about Carbon Free's growth
Sure.
because you've grown professionally while the company has been changing around you. I think you
Yeah.
mentioned when you started, there were roughly around 60 employees, and recently you hit about 80.
Hmm.
That was probably a month ago when we talked about it.
Yeah.
You described the company as having its legs and starting to jog. What
Hmm.
does that stage require from HR?
Yeah. So compliance wise, it requires a lot more focus kind of like on labor law and making sure that, we are following those in terms of like benefits, in terms of like certain taxes and all of that stuff, right? But also in terms of my function. Um it it requires a bit of a pivot for us because it's no longer just maintaining kind of the status quo. It's really making sure that we are growing with our people, making sure that as we bring on more people, we're offering services, we are offering programs, we're offering trainings that people want, that people need, and that will help them grow as well. Because the more that we can give our people kind of what they want in a professional setting and help them grow, that leads to an employee population that's happy and satisfied with their job, and that will keep them coming back to work. That'll aid in our retention. That'll aid, in our just like satisfaction scores in general. Um, and so, yeah, it requires a lot more kind of like out of the box thinking on our part in building out newer programs that we hadn't dreamt of even 2 or 3 years ago, or 4 years ago when I first started. And so, yeah, it's been a haul. It's
Mhm.
been, like a lot of these big ideas that we're trying to bring to light to make sure that we're staying fresh, make sure that we're staying interesting. Um, and so, yeah, it's been a big undertaking, but it's been fun.
So you're not just maintaining HR, like you just
Right.
mentioned. You're building programs, solving compliance issues, and helping leaders align. You're working on mentorships,
Mhm.
internships,
Yep.
immigration support,
Yep.
leadership alignment,
Yes.
and culture.
Yes.
When everything matters, how do you decide what gets your attention first?
Really, whatever the hottest fire is. Some days it will be like the thing that you think is the hottest fire then becomes maybe medium to low, depending on the day, depending on um certain circumstances that may affect like how hot of a fire something becomes. And so really a lot of the beginning of my day and especially the beginning of my week is focused on prioritizing what I have going on and and also keeping in mind that I have to have the availability and ability to pivot, which there's a lot of that. Um but yeah, so it's really just looking at my priorities every morning and just saying, like what needs my attention right now. And then also sometimes when I need a break, I just focus on like an easy win real quick. Because sometimes, you're putting out so many fires that's just like, I need something that's just gonna be like a yes, I did it and I completed it and yay. And so that I'll sprinkle those in there as well. But yeah, I just focus on what needs my immediate attention in order to bring it back down to medium or low until it's complete.
Okay. Now let's pivot.
Yeah.
Since this is navigating AI, I want to shift into how you're actually using these tools. What
Hmm.
I liked about your answer on our previous conversation is that it was very practical.
Yeah.
Your HR tech stack is not as robust as you would like. So
Hmm.
you've been building your own edge with tools like ChatGPT and Claude. What does that look like in a normal week for you?
Sure. So really what I've been using them for currently, is that like let's say I'll build out kind of like an infrastructure of something or like my thoughts around something, and then I'll throw that document or that like brain vomit onto like into chat gpt or copilot. Depending if it's something that is carbon free specific, I'll throw it into Copilot so that way, we're not putting our name just like out on the internet. But yeah, I'll throw that kind of brainstorm into one of those and really have it kind of organize my thoughts in a way that makes sense and then structure the whatever kind of document or whatever kind of email, whatever kind of whatever that I'm trying to build. So that way it flows well, that way it makes sense, but still maintains my tone. That's something that's very important to me. Communications are very, very important to me. And so I always want to make sure that whatever I produce, whether it's AI assisted or not, really has the tone that I and a lot of us always try to convey when communicating with any of our employees. So yeah, that's basically what I use it for. And then I'm also um, I just finished like the Claude Academy, and so I'm really starting to use that to kind of build out macros. So so that way I'm getting more of like some automated things, like, hey, what's on my plate for today? Going back to prioritizing and like figuring out what to handle first. So really kind of just playing with it in that function. And so yeah, I have some crazy ideas that I want to do using Claude, but I'm not quite there yet. So right now I'm just doing basic stuff like building out macros for automation.
You also pointed to a bigger opportunity,
Yeah.
especially around policy, compliance, and benchmarking.
Yeah.
You are interested in HR specific AI that can help provide accurate, source, nuance guidance. What
Yes.
is missing from the tools most HR professionals have today?
Um, well, to me, what's missing is that AI right now is really just built on what people know-ish, right? And so, and then it'll make some assumptions in the background and spit out what it thinks that you want to hear or what it thinks that you need. I don't know if you're following a lot of AI news. I assume that you are, but like there's some cases where there are lawyers even who they'll use AI, and it's like causing like spitting out these like hallucinated answers, whereas making up cases that didn't exist, making up like all these things. And so I really feel like what's missing is having a true database. What I think that they need to do is they need to take different professionals, like let's say HR, for example, and sit down and like, okay, so let's go through what policies look like, what compliance looks like, what these laws look like, and so that way it's actually built out by HR professionals for HR professionals, and so on and so forth for, other careers. But I think in that regard, you will have way fewer issues of like hallucinated answers, or the AI just being like a yes man, or just trying to give you the answer that you think you want to hear and actually giving you accurate information, so that way it's actually usable. So what it spits out, I don't then have to go and research and make sure that the sources that it's giving me or the answers that it's giving me are like completely accurate.
I want to connect this back to talent because
Hmm.
Carbon Free is recruiting engineers, scientists, operators, and sustainability professionals in a
Yeah.
very narrow talent pool.
Yes.
How do benefits and flexibility factor into that recruiting story?
Sure. I like to think that we offer a pretty robust benefits package. So, everyone gets offered our medical and dental. It's standard across the board. They're not different tiers for different types of employees. Like our executives have the same benefits that our operators do. And I feel like that shows how good kind of like what we offer is, which I appreciate that. We offer company paid long-term, short-term disability and basic life insurance, which people don't think about until they need it, and it gets expensive. And so, I think that, especially in a manufacturing environment, and so I think that's always great that we offer that. We have our company match with our 401k, for a lot of our employees, or for certain like levels of employees. There is the possibility to go ahead and get some kind of like equity in the company. Granted, we're not public yet, but there is that availability as well. And so that's always kind of like an attracting feature, especially when we are looking for talent that is in that super narrow field, like our R&D talent, super specific. Like we have decarb engineers and pyro processing engineers, stuff that you just don't really like hear about. I think we have like a metallurgy engineer as well. And it's kind of just like a what is that? And so, like in order to attract these people who generally aren't here, in San Antonio, Texas, we have to make sure that, what we offer is attractive. And so we
Mhm.
really work hard to make sure that we have a pretty robust benefits package from time off to actual like health and wellness benefits.
How do these decisions reflect the way Carbon Free thinks about taking care of people?
That's something that I'm passionate about, and luckily, I have a leadership team that's also passionate about that. It's important because at the end of the day, like, we wouldn't be anything or anywhere without our people. They're our biggest asset, and we need to make sure that we take care of them.
Shayla, your path has taken several turns:
Yeah.
science, medicine, HR,
Hmm.
carbon capture, and now AI enabled people operations.
Yes.
What do you want an HR professional who is just starting their career to take from your story?
I want people to know that it's okay to pivot. It's okay to be inquisitive. I think that being inquisitive sometimes is frowned upon. People are just like, well, I just want to stay in my place. I don't know if that's something I'm allowed to know. If you're not allowed to know it, they'll tell you. But, like being curious is like such a gateway into learning and developing and growing. I I'd like to think that my career trajectory is evidence of that. Really, I think what's gotten me from an admin to a manager in the last 4 years is that I just like to understand things, and I really want people to take that and run with it. Like, use your curiosity to your benefit. And there and even if curiosity isn't your superpower as it is mine, use what you think your superpower is to your advantage. There's always something unique that you have to offer, something unique you have to bring to the table, and something unique that others haven't thought about or haven't used in the way that you may use it. So just go for it, even if you think it's out of the box, which it certainly was for me because I was dead set. I'm going to be a surgeon. I'm going to be out here, just opening my own practice, and that's what I'm going to be doing. And here I am running an HR department, because I use that same curiosity and problem solving and logic puzzling. Um, but just instead of looking at human bodies and how to put those together, I'm looking at people's like personalities and work ethic and like how they function in order to help teams function better. And so it's really just all about taking whatever you're passionate about, and whatever your unique superpower is, and using that to your advantage, and it'll make you soar in whatever you choose to do and make you shine, whether you choose to be a recruiter.
That is exactly what I appreciated about your story. You're not treating HR as a department that sits on the sidelines.
Yeah.
You are showing us that what it looks like when HR understands the science,
Yeah.
understands the business, and still keeps people at the center.
Yeah. No, you have to. I mean, because like I said earlier, your people are your biggest asset, right? And
Mhm.
so you just really wanna cultivate a good environment for them, and that comes with being as genuine as you can, as transparent as you can, and just really showing that you care. I think it just comes down to that at the end of the day. As long as you're genuine, you're showing up as your true genuine self, then there's nothing that can be said or done against it. You're just being you, and good things come of that I've found so far. I've not had any trouble with it yet, so I think we've figured it out.
Well, you've also given us a very practical view of AI, not
Yeah.
AI as a replacement for judgment, not AI as a magic answer machine. Those were your words, but AI as a tool that can help HR professionals communicate better, work smarter, and eventually access better guidance.
Yes.
If the information is accurate, sourced, and used responsibly. I think that's what you told me.
Correct. Yes. I want people to understand that AI is such a great tool, especially HR professionals. AI is such a great tool. I think that in the future it will be even light years ahead of where it is now. But in the meantime, using AI should be done super responsibly, right? Like, if you're going to use it to research something, make sure that you're also finding those sources elsewhere. Go, because sometimes it'll give you the sources that it gets it from too. Go check those sources. Make sure that they make sense. Go do a little bit of googling on your own. It's like writing a research paper when using AI, right? You got to check the sources. Um, so yeah, just don't solely rely on AI, but if you're working on automating like some processes like at 9 a.m., I want, please send out an email to all staff, greeting them good morning, and then print out kind of like my priorities for the day and whatever, like those kinds of things. Fantastic. If you're using AI to do an analysis or to help you build out an analysis of like, let's say like OT versus regular hours and money spent, fantastic. Because it's very, like ones and zeros driven, right? And so it's great to use it for those things. Just if you're gonna use it for, especially like benchmarking or building out a program or for what should I do in this employee relation situation, just make sure that you really do some background research on those sources to make sure that you're doing the most ethical thing, and to make sure that you're on the right track.
Well, very good. Shayla, can you believe it? We're actually at the end of our segment.
Wow, that was so
Went
fast.
by so quick, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
So, Shayla, thank you so much for being here with me today. I truly
Yeah.
appreciate you.
No, thank you for having me. This was so great. It was a great conversation and really thoughtful questions. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
And for those of you that are tuned in, if you've enjoyed this conversation, be sure to subscribe, share the episode, and join us next time as we continue exploring how leaders can navigate the new intelligence era with clarity, purpose, and a human centered mindset.
Mission accomplished. This is Navigating AI. Subscribe for more insights into how AI is transforming business, leadership, and the world. Until next time, stay curious, stay ahead.